Hello and welcome to the first episode of Human Rights and World Report. My name is Ty, and I look forward to seeing where this channel goes. I'm really interested in sort of focusing in on and paying attention to topics related to politics and human rights, both in the U.S. and all across the world. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with this first topic that I have here, which is Alaska's congressional race, for the midterms. It's probably a little bit after the midterms, to say the least, a few weeks. But it really wasn't until around Thanksgiving week that the results firmly came in for the Alaska's only congressional district, the race, and as the New York Times reports here, Mary Peltola, Democrat, wins the at-large district in Alaska. Now, 3 months ago, there was a special runoff because the former representative of the district, Don Young, Republican, had passed away. And it's actually quite interesting because Representative Young held the seat for 49 years, in fact, as NPR reports here in this article. Now, it's interesting because her opponent was Sarah Palin, the former governor, John McCain's 2008 VP, celebrity, so on and so forth. Uh, Sarah Palin is quite well known, both in Alaska and across the country, for better or for worse. She's fairly, or at least has been fairly prominent within the Republican Party. Now, as NPR sort of reports here, Peltola embraced Young's legacy as she sought the 2-year term and was endorsed by his daughters, one of whom presented her with a bolo tie of Young's at an Alaska Federation of Native Conference, where Peltola was treated like a rock star. Okay, so it's going into sort of her influence within Alaska. Now, it's interesting here as it's going over some of her political background. She was a state lawmaker from a rural community, Bethel, for 10 years, which ended in 2009. And now she surprised, and it was a bit of a surprise, the 3 months ago when the special election was held, um, as she first finished in fourth place in the special primary, and she emerged from a field of 48 candidates. Wow, that is quite a bit. Now, it was enough to send her to the special election. So, what's interesting here is that the elections were with the elections in Alaska were not the standard sort of first past the post, simple plurality vote system that many, especially many states operate under. Now, this is ranked choice voting. So, uh, for those of you who aren't too familiar with ranked choice voting, it's this new, at least in the context of the U.S. and other countries in Europe, other parts of the world do have this sort of system, but in the U.S. it's fairly new. So the ranked choice voting, also known as instant runoff voting, is isn't too. I think for those who sort of aren't too familiar with it, it can seem a little confusing. But I'm going to play this YouTube video from the uh, Alaska Elections Division's website here, and I think it does a good job of sort of simplifying the system of ranked choice voting, and as well as how it's implemented within Alaska specifically. So go ahead and look at
Ranked
this.
choice voting is here. Here's what you need to know to make your vote count in Alaska's ranked choice voting general election. Only fill in one oval per candidate in each column. Don't rank a candidate more than once. Your vote only counts once. When a candidate is eliminated in a round, they are eliminated from all future rounds. You do not have to rank all of the candidates. Rank the candidates in order without skipping any rankings. If you skip a ranking, your next ranking moves up. But if you skip 2 or more rankings, only the rankings before the skipped rankings will count. Don't give more than one candidate the same ranking. If you give more than one candidate the same ranking, those rankings and later rankings won't count. Once all the votes are in, tabulation begins, and here's how that works. The votes will be counted, starting with first choices. If a candidate gets 50% plus 1 vote, they win. If not, round 2 begins, with the lowest vote getter eliminated. If your first choice was not eliminated, your vote stays with them. If your first choice was eliminated, your second choice is now counted. If you only voted for one candidate, your vote also stays with them even if they are eliminated. Votes are tabulated again. This keeps happening in rounds until 2 candidates are left, and the one with the most votes wins. Learn more about ranked choice voting at elections.alaska.gov.
Okay, so I think here the video does a pretty good job of simplifying ranked choice voting. So you have rounds depending on whether or not a candidate is able to secure a majority plus or 50% plus 1 to secure a formal majority instead of a plurality. With that sort of being said, let's go back to looking at the results of the election. So technically, Representative Peltola was the incumbent in the race here. She has been since winning the seat in a shock election, securing a shock election win back during the summer for the special election. Now, it's interesting because Sarah Palin ran against her during within that election as well, but Governor Palin has sort of earned the scorn of many citizens within Alaska, to say the least, over the years, and I think that's reflective of the fact that Representative Peltola was able to secure her re-election in the past midterms. Now, if we look here at the first round of votes, so 3 candidates, 1 Democrat, Representative Peltola, and 2 Republicans here. Technically, there were 4 candidates, 4 main candidates. And I believe Alaska's ranked choice voting system allows up to the top 4 candidates really to be on the ballot. Now, in this case, although there was a limit of 4 candidates, write-in was also allowed, as is typical. Now, the 2 main Republican candidates, Sarah Palin and Nick Begich, I believe, there. Within the first round, Representative Peltola, she secured nearly 49% of the vote. Palin, 25%, and Begich, 23.3%. And the Libertarian in the race, Chris Bai, secured 1.7%. Shocker. The third party candidate didn't receive many votes. So what ended up happening after the first round of votes, so Chris Bai and Nick Begich, they were essentially, what basically happened is within the first round of voting, after the first round, the candidate with the least amount of votes was eliminated. So Chris Bai was eliminated. Okay, so then his votes, the people who voted for him, their second choice went to the remaining candidates. So that was within the second round. Okay, and there's still not a clear winner following that. So after the second round, okay, then there's a third round. So the candidate with the least amount of votes, in this case Nick Begich, was eliminated, and the voters, their second choice were then allocated to either Peltola or Palin. And it is apparent here that the second choice for the majority of voters for Begich went to Peltola. So we see here that in the final round of voting, Representative Peltola was able to secure 55% of the vote, in contrast to Sarah Palin's 45%. So that is a 10 percentage point difference here, which is actually pretty shocking, especially considering Alaska's fairly long history of Alaska's at-large district being solidly Republican for nearly half a century. And I think in general, at the national level, Alaskans generally voting more or voting in Republicans in contrast to Democrats. So this is a huge development within politics within Alaska, particularly at the national level, considering that the voters with using ranked choice voting have decided to go with a Democrat for the first time in nearly, as of 2022, nearly half a century, going sort of reversing track and sending a Democrat to office. So it's very stunning to say the least. And this result can be contributed to Alaska's implementation of this new system, ranked choice voting, that is, in the context of the U.S., quite new. Now, it's interesting because Alaska and Maine are the two states that have incorporated ranked choice voting at national and within local elections. Now, as of this year, I believe there are some other states that are implementing ranked choice voting either for national elections or within city or municipalities. They are incorporating ranked choice voting as well. But I think I will cover that further in a separate video. But here, just wanted to sort of emphasize this really shocking development within Alaskan politics at the national level, as Meredith Peltola's win here, or re-election here, is a great advantage, I think, for the Democrats overall. We'll see how she continues to perform in terms of her voting record, but I mean, she hasn't been in Congress for too long. But here, I think what should be emphasized is the ability of Peltola to secure a majority of Alaskans who voted to go out and effectively vote for her. Again, within the first round, she didn't secure a majority, although she came close, nearly 49%. But following further rounds, she was able to ultimately secure 55% of the vote, and that is a 10-point difference. That is a gigantic win for Peltola over Sarah Palin to her dismay, which so be it. I think really one of the benefits, the greatest benefits of ranked choice voting is the ability of candidates to broaden their appeal to a wide and to not merely stay restricted to their base. So to try to be as appealing to a broader base as possible, so that in subsequent rounds, if necessary, if which typically in ranked choice voting, there are additional rounds. You can be someone's, even if you're not their first, you can be their second or their third choice, which can elevate your chances of winning an election. So it allows, in my view, and I think the view of Alaskans and those that have those cities and municipalities that have incorporated this voting system, it allows for better representation in voting, so that you can vote for the candidate you're most interested in, and then from there prioritize your interest in other candidates. And so it grants the voter an ability to rank, quite literally rank their preferred candidate, and thereby allowing them to prioritize the candidate of their interest, but still giving them representation if their preferred candidate is eliminated through the ranking system. So very, very interesting developments here, and I think the results speak for themselves in terms of ranked choice voting. This is, at least in my view, the way that the U.S. Should continue to go. So we'll have to see. Now with that, this video is already fairly long, so going to end it here. Again, I'm going to make a separate video sort of going over in further detail ranked choice voting. But with that, if you like this video, please like. If you dislike, leave a comment. I certainly look forward to engaging with you all. And if you want to see more of this content, please subscribe. Thank you.